It was bad enough that we were late for the theatre, but to make matters worse, just as we arrived, it started to drizzle. Luckily, I had my suitcase with me.
I told you I had pull, honey. Front row seats for Dick Whittington's pantomime.
But darling, what exactly is a pantomime?
Who knows? But whatever it is, it beats being out in the rain.
Did you see that? A bear with a suitcase on his head?
Calm down, honey. He could be part of the show. I guess maybe not.
You see, Paddington, Dick Whittington has walked all the way to London with his cat Suki to seek fame and fortune.
This is a picture of Dick Whittington.
That's not a him. That's a her.
That's right. In a pantomime, the leading man is always played by a girl. Guess who they get to play the cat?
A dog?
A dog? Oh, darling, what kind of a show have you brought me to? Oh.
Honey, honey!
Honey, where?
If you don't mind, I was referring to my wife. I call her Honey.
You do? Personally, I prefer marmalade.
Speaking of which, Suki's a marmalade cat.
A marmalade cat? I hope no one tries to eat it.
Eat a cat?
At long last, I have arrived in London. They say the streets are paved with gold, but I am faint with hunger. Won't someone please help me?
Here, have a marmalade sandwich. I always keep some for emergencies. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Honey. Let me...
No! Just what kind of a show is a pantomime?
It says in the program, it's a play with songs and variety acts, and parts where the audience can join in.
Well, if you ask me, there's far too much of that already.
Thank you for this delicious meal, Alderman. If only my marmalade cat were here to... Oh, here she comes.
Hooray! Bravo! Hey, wait a minute. I thought so. This isn't marmalade, it's fur. And very lumpy fur at that. Despite the incident with the marmalade cat, I was very excited when the magician came on stage.
Prepare to be astounded and mystified by me, the Great Divine. Abracadabra. Ta-da! Now, I would like one volunteer from the audience. Don't be shy.
Dear Henry, I knew it was a mistake to get seats so close to the stage.
Ah, what's this in your ear? A silver coin.
Oh, thank you. I shall use that to buy some buns.
And inside your hat, another rabbit.
Oh dear, that was the last of my sandwiches.
Your next task will be to assure the audience that I have nothing up my sleeves.
No, there's nothing at all, Mr. Divide. But what's that in your cape?
And now we come to my pièce de résistance. For the first time on any stage, sawing a bear in half.
Sawing a bear in half?
Your third or quarter. They don't call me the Great Divide for nothing.
One bear is bad enough, but two?
I hope he doesn't catch the saw in Paddington's duffel coat. We shall never hear the last of it if he pulls any threads. It's not Paddington's coat I'm worried about.
Are you feeling any, discomfort?
I could do with some earplugs. Afraid I'm still in one piece. Never mind, Mr. Divide. Perhaps it'll work better next time.
And now, by popular request, I shall make you disappear.
Disappear? But I've only just got here. Excuse me, I think there is something up your sleeve after all.
Observe. Completely empty.
Let me out! It's dark in here!
There. That wasn't so bad, was it? Tell everyone you're all right.
I'm not. I feel dizzy. And I've lost my suitcase.
You've lost your what?
My suitcase. You must have made it disappear by mistake, and it's got all my important things in it. Oh, thank you.
I thought you said it was full of things. It's empty.
No, it isn't, Mr. Divide. I'll show you. That's a picture of my Aunt Lucy, and that's one of the Home for Retired Bears in Lima, my passport, a label in case I ever get lost, some toffees, and a map of darkest Peru. Just like your disappearing box, my suitcase has a secret compartment as well.
You were right, darling. That bear is part of the show. And he's really quite good, you know.
Everyone wanted Paddington's autograph. Even the Great Divide.
Well, that was one pantomime I shan't forget in a hurry.
I shan't forget it either, Mrs. Bird. Perhaps I could borrow your saw when we get home, Mr. Brown.
My what? Over my dead body?
Careful, Henry. There's many a true word spoken in jest.
That, Mary, is precisely what I'm worried about.
Mr. Gruber says Alaska is a savage land, untouched by civilization, and where only the bravest and hardiest of souls dares to venture.
More cocoa, Mr. Brown?
Yes, please, Mr. Gruber. Mr. Gruber and I were staying with Mr. Lars Larson, who was about to compete in the world-renowned Iditarod. It's a famous dog sled race, which Mr. Gruber wanted to include in his book, The World and Its Wonders.
It must be difficult, Lars, living out here in the wild.
It certainly is, Sam. Aha! Found the marshmallows. This is a map of the race course, and these are the checkpoints. The first leg of the race is pretty easy.
Hey,
You there! What are you doing to my dog?
I didn't do anything. He took a bite of my marmalade sandwich.
Ha! This dog does not eat marmalade. He is part wolf, a vicious savage beast. He only eats raw meat.
He doesn't look very vicious.
Just stay away from him.
Next on the starting line, Lars Larson and Jack LeBlanc.
Okay, I just need to get my hat, and I'm ready to go. It must be in the back.
Oh dear, Mr. Larson left the door of his truck open.
You there! Out of my way!
Let me out of here!
Lars is going to miss his starting time. I'd better find him.
Larson! Larson! Last call for Larson! Well, if he doesn't start on time, he's out of the race.
Too bad for him.
There was no sign of Mr. Larson, so I had to do some quick thinking.
Mush, 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 mush.
Excuse me, why aren't we going?
You have to untie your sled first.
Oh,
I can't understand why Mr. Brown would do such a thing.
Gotta hurry.
Mr. Brown?
once I got back on the sled, everything was fine until the first turn. The dog seemed to know which way to go. All I had to do was stay on the sled, which was not as easy as it sounds. But after a while, I got the hang of it. In fact, I started to do quite well.
Zut alors!
didn't want to make Mr. Le Poivre angry again, so I decided to get rid of my sandwich.
Second bloom!
Don't worry, Mr. Le Poivre. I'm coming. Excuse me. Could we stop, please? Hello?
It was time for drastic measures. Are you all right, Mr. Le Poivre?
No, I am not all right. I am stranded in the middle of nowhere.
Well, at least we have a sled.
What good is a sled without dogs?
Good point. In fact, 5 good points.
It's a good thing for you that I, Jacques Le Poivre, am at one with the wilderness. What was that?
It sounded like wolves.
Wolves! We are done for! Ah! Ah!
That was when I remembered how much Mr. Le Poivre's dog liked marmalade sandwiches. And he was part wolf. Luckily, I'd packed an emergency supply for Mr. Larson. It turns out that wolves like marmalade just as much as bears. And who can blame them? Then, I had an idea.
I talked to the race officials. They said as soon as Paddington checks in, I can take over and run the rest of the race.
Something's coming.
That's Jack's team. And mine.
But where are Mr. Brown and Monsieur Le Poivre?
They must be back on the trail somewhere. Good thing Jack is an experienced woodsman.
Are the wolves gone yet?
Not exactly, but you can come down.
But this is impossible. These wolves will not pull the sled.
I think they will. They just need a little encouragement. With marmalade, anything's possible.
Something's coming!
It looks like...
What is the matter, everyone? Are you afraid of a few nice little wolves?
There go the wolves, Mr. Brown.
Along with the last of our marmalade sandwiches. Mr. Gruber, what was it you said about Alaska?
That it's a savage land, untouched by civilization, where only the bravest and hardiest souls dare to tread.
Then I suppose the nearest supermarket is hundreds of miles from here, Mr. Larson.
Well, actually, Paddington, there's one just over that ridge.
Every week, Mr. Brown gives me £1 for my pocket money, and I put it towards the buns Mr. Gruber and I share for our 11s. Then one day, it fell through a hole in my duffel coat pocket, so I put it on the side of the wash basin while I was cleaning my teeth. And guess what? It fell down the plug hole. There was only one thing for it.
What? Paddington, I think you should let me have that spanner in case you have any more accidents. Not to worry, Paddington. Here's some more bun money. There's no need to try your paw at plumbing.
Indeed. We don't want a repeat of what happened when you helped Mr. Curry with his frozen pipes last winter.
Quite. Some more bun money, and then you can forget all about it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. I'll try, but it won't be easy. I shall be £1 short for the rest of my life.
There. I fixed the hole in your pocket. You shouldn't have any trouble with your seams for some time.
I didn't ever want to experience a bunless Friday, and luckily, Mr. Gruber had the perfect solution.
It's rather an old sewing machine, Mr. Brown. It's been at the back of my shop for some years. But there's a book of instructions, and it should do if you just want to repair some of your old seams.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. I don't want to take any more chances. Threading a needle is a bit difficult with paws. And several times I nearly threaded one of my whiskers by mistake. But with the scraps of cloth Mrs. Bird had given me, I soon got the hang of things.
my, Paddington. It's a wonderful tablecloth.
If, that's what it is.
As a matter of fact, it's a picnic blanket. Perhaps you'd like to help me test it, Mrs. Brown.
I'm afraid it will have to wait for another day, Paddington. Mrs. Bird and I have some shopping to do. Why don't you take it into the garden?
Lying there in the sun, it was easy to think of all sorts of other things I could make with Mr. Gruber's sewing machine. I thought I might even set up in business.
Ah! My best trousers.
Oh, it looked as though Mr. Curry was having trouble with his seams as well.
£10 worth of damage at the very least. Ah!
I know someone who would mend them for £1, Mr. Curry.
Are you spying on me, Bear?
Oh, no, Mr. Curry. I was just looking at the hole in your trousers. I mean...
Did you say £1, Bear? That seems remarkably cheap. Can they repair them in a day?
Oh, it isn't a they, Mr. Curry. It's a he.
£1, eh? Are you sure this person is completely reliable, Bear?
Oh, yes. I've known him all my life. You see, he lost all his money down a plug hole the other day, and he's trying to make up for it.
Wait there, Bear. It's too good an opportunity to miss.
I should have known better. Mrs. Bird says give Mr. Curry an inch and he'll take a mile. I didn't know he had so many clothes.
I may as well get my dressing gown mended while I'm at it.
Wouldn't you like to keep something to wear in case you have an emergency, Mr. Curry?
Nonsense. What could possibly happen? Now, be sure and tell your friend that I can't go out until some of my clothes come back. So, woe betide him if anything goes wrong.
It's all very well for Mr. Curry to say what could possibly happen, but over the years I've learned something usually does. For the proud owner of a Sew-Right sewing machine, the horizons are limitless. There was such a large pile of clothes, I could hardly see the window, let alone the horizon. The trouble with sewing is that there are so many threads, and it's hard to know which to pull and which not.
Bear? Are you there, Bear?
Ooh!
Any news of my clothes, Bear?
He's doing his best, Mr. Curry, but it's a bit difficult with paws. I mean...
Well, tell him to get a move on. I can't wait all day. If you get them back for me soon, I may even give you £1 as well.
Something told me that that was £1 I wasn't going to see in a hurry. I don't think Mr. Curry is going to be very happy when he sees what's happened to his trousers. Or his best shirt. As for his dressing gown, I suppose it might make a good duster. If all else fails, feel free to contact Sew-Right. That's it! I found the Sew-Right company's new telephone number, and someone from their emergency service was soon on his way.
Sew-Right Emergency Service. Bear? Are you there, Bear? You there? What's going on? I say, wait!
Afternoon. Hey, do you know there's a man next door who seems quite upset about something?
I'm afraid I've been having trouble with some of Mr. Curry's seams.
I can see that. This isn't exactly what our emergency service is for, but I think I can pull a few strings for you.
I'd much rather you didn't. It was bad enough when I pulled the threads.
Is that your sewing machine?
Yes, Mr. Gruber gave it to me. I'm afraid it's rather an old one, so you may not like it very much.
Not like it? Not like it? I love it! It's a Mark I, the first Sew-Right ever made! You wouldn't be interested in selling it, would you?
Selling it?
Bear, I demand an explanation.
Well, sir, this young bear is willing to sell his rare sewing machine so you can buy an entire new wardrobe of clothes.
He is? Again? I mean, that would be just fine.
I'm sorry, Mr. Curry, but sewing isn't what bears are best at.
Don't worry, Bear. I can't remember when I last bought anything new. I shall go out straight away and do my shopping.
Thank you very much.
Think nothing of it. In fact, I'd like to thank you on behalf of Sew-Right. Your machine will have pride of place in our main showroom.
Bear! Come back, Bear! How can I buy new clothes when I don't have any old ones to go shopping in?
been hit by another one of Mrs. Bird's cold snaps. Which means it's time for making snowmen. This one reminds me of someone. I know, Mr. Curry.
Bear?
Ah! It even sounds like him.
Come over here, Bear.
Oh, it is you, Mr. Curry.
I've caught a nasty cold in my nose.
A cold in your doze?
Not my doze, my nose.
Oh, you mean your nose?
And if that isn't enough, my system is frozen.
Your system's frozen, Mr. Curry. Oh, dear. I better get Mrs. Bird to send for Dr. McAndrew.
I don't want a doctor, Bear. I want Mr. James, the plumber. It's my water pipes that are frozen solid, not my insides.
Oh.
Here! Give him my front door key. Tell him it's an emergency. He can let himself in. And tell him not to make too much noise. I shall probably be in bed asleep. And no hanging about on the way. If you're quick, I may even give you 10 pence.
If I had all the 10 pences Mr. Curry's promised me over the years, I'd be rich.
Curry? I know him and his little jobs. He still hasn't paid me for the last one I did, and that was 6 months ago.
It's nice to know I'm not the only one.
Tell him for me that before I do any more little jobs for him, I want to see the colour of his money.
Oh, I expect he would show it to you, Mr. James, only he may be asleep.
That wouldn't surprise me.
He's got a cold, you see, and...
Well, OK. I'll lend Mr. Curry these. A blow lamp and a do-it-yourself book on plumbing.
It's very kind of you, Mr. James, but...
Tell him I'm all booked up, so it's take it or leave it.
Knowing Mr. Curry, I think he would rather I'd left it. On the other hand, I knew he wouldn't be best pleased if he woke up and found his pipes were still frozen. The Plumber's Mate by Bert Stilson. Everything the amateur plumber needs to know.
It sounds as if Mr. Curry is having trouble with his plumbing.
I wouldn't want to be the unlucky person who has to fix those old pipes. Whoa!
Mr. James! Can't you hit those pipes quietly? Quiet!
Everything's coming along fine, Mr. Curry.
One of the best methods of thawing a frozen pipe is pouring boiling water over rags wrapped around it. If the pipes are frozen, where am I supposed to get the water to boil? What's that funny smell?
Mr. James, what's that funny smell?
Oops. Things are just heating up in here, Mr. Curry.
It's funny that Mr. Stilson does his plumbing in warm weather when pipes would never freeze. Heating the pipe is another effective method. Fancy leaving it until the last chapter to tell people that. Hooray!
What's going on in there?
I think the water's starting to flow.
Once the pipes are thawed, check for leaks. Checked. Tape wrapped tightly around a small leak will serve as a temporary repair.
Mr. James? How's the job coming along then, eh? Nearly finished. I'm dying for a nice hot bath.
Everything's just fine, Mr. Curry.
Well, I hope you're not charging me by the hour.
Nearly finished, Mr. Curry.
Good.
Likely trouble spots are... This must be where the water's frozen.
morning at last. Bear? Bear? Where's Mr. James? Where's all this water coming from, Bear?
Paddington, it's Mr. Curry to see you.
I just wanted to thank you, Bear. Here's your 10 pence and a box of cream buns as a bonus for a job well done.
Well done.
Yes, thanks to you, Bear, all the pipes in my bathroom are going to be repaired professionally. My insurance is paying for it because the pipes broke during the night.
You're lucky, Mr. Curry, that you didn't have a clause in your insurance policy saying you weren't covered for freezing pipes.
Yes, but in this case, it had nothing to do with a clause. It was paws that did it.
Oh!
And if ever I need another act of Bear, I'll know where to come.
Act of Bear? Well, I never.
Don't eat that. I was just reading about the recent sighting of the Yeti. The Yeti's been sighted. What is the Yeti, Mr. Gruber?
The Yeti, which is also called the abominable snowman, is a mythical creature, Mr. Brown. People claim it lives in the mountains of Tibet.
Is that why we're going there? To find the Yeti and include it in your book, The World and Its Wonders?
We're certainly going to include the story of the Yeti, but I don't hold out much hope of finding it. Like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, we are not certain the Yeti even exists. Tibet, however, is a land of infinite fascination. The Himalayas, Mr. Brown. That peak is the world's highest mountain, Mount Everest. Sir Edmund Hillary was the first person to climb it.
Did he see the Yeti, Mr. Gruber?
I don't believe so, Mr. Brown. But here's a photograph that another explorer took. Judge for yourself.
Welcome, Mr. Brown. And welcome to you too, sir. My name is Ngapo.
Pleased to meet you.
The Yeti is half man, half bear. His kind have lived in the mountains for thousands of years. Although people fear him, it is said the Yeti has helped lost travelers find their way.
Have you seen the Yeti?
Seeing him is not important. We believe he exists.
I would be happy to lead you into the mountains. With luck, perhaps we shall see for ourselves.
Oh! We will make an early start in the morning.
To see the Yeti, you must keep your eyes and ears open. But most important, your heart.
Why don't you try that theory you read about, Mr. Brown, of how the Yeti footprints may have been made by a bear?
How did it work again, Mr. Gruber?
If you place your hind paw partly over the imprint of your forepaw, you will create a footprint positioned in the opposite direction. And that resembles the Yeti footprint.
Oh. I don't think much of the footprint theory, Mr. Gruber. It must be hard if you're a Yeti to tell whether you're coming or going.
Quite right, Mr. Brown.
We should hurry while the weather is good. In the Himalayas, the weather can change at the drop of a hat.
I'm sorry I dropped my hat, Mr. Gruber. I didn't mean to make the weather change.
I believe that's simply a figure of speech, Mr. Brown. Where's Mr. Brown?
I'll find the young bear. You wait here for me.
Mr. Gruber? Ngapo! Ah, Mr. Gruber! Mr. Gruber!
Mr. Brown! Over here!
Mr. Gruber. Oh, now both are lost. I must find them.
Even though Mr. Gruber was dressed warmly, it sounded as though he was getting a cold. Luckily, Mrs. Bird had given me some throat lozenges for the trip.
Here you are, Mr. Gruber. Have some lozenges for your sore throat. Mrs. Bird swears by them. Don't worry, they taste strong, but they do work.
Mr. Gruber! Mr. Brown!
We can use this cave as shelter and ride out the storm. How clever of you to lead us here, Mr. Brown.
But I was following you. Here, Mr. Gruber, have another lunch.
Another? But I haven't had any yet.
I gave you one when I was following you.
I'm afraid high altitudes can make people lightheaded and confused, Mr. Brown.
My head feels the same weight as it did this morning.
We'd better rest. We'll have to try and find Nagapo in the morning. I do hope he's all right.
You must be hungry, Mr. Gruber. Here. Though I don't think I've got any bread. Why, Mr. Gruber, you were really hungry. Luckily, I had my emergency sandwich. It's a good job we're not staying in a hotel, Mr. Gruber. Your snoring would keep the other guests awake.
It's a good job we're not staying in a hotel, Mr. Brown. Your snoring would keep the other guests awake.
Your cold must have been bothering you during the night, Mr. Gruber. You were snoring very loudly.
I'm afraid you must have been the one snoring, Mr. Brown. I never snore.
I think perhaps you may be the one suffering from lightheadedness, Mr. Gruber. I never snore either.
What I'm suffering from at the moment is a light stomach. I'm very hungry.
I know. You ate a whole jar of marmalade during the night.
I what?
Mr. Brown? Mr. Gruber?
Ngapo, thank goodness you are all right. However did you find us?
Why, I followed Mr. Brown's fake Yeti footprints.
Now that's very clever, Mr. Brown. Getting up early to make fresh prints for Ngapo to find?
I didn't make any fresh prints.
But if you didn't, then...
A Yeti! I know we experienced some strange goings-on last night, but there must be some other explanation.
I don't suppose we shall ever know for certain. But it would be nice to think it was the Yeti who led us to the cave, Mr. Gruber.
Oh!
And if it was, I hope Mrs. Bird's lozenges help him get over that nasty cold. You know, Aunt Lucy, I wanted very much to be a guest on Lucky for Some. It's a television quiz show, and with Mr. Gruber's help, I finally got my chance.
Don't miss Lucky for Some coming next.
Hurry up, Paddington. Your favourite program's starting. Lucky for Some is right. I'm missing football on the other channel.
And now, it's Lucky for Some with your host, the one and only Ronnie Playfair.
Thank you, and welcome to Lucky for Some, the quiz show that's lucky for some, especially the jackpot winner.
Do we have to watch this?
It is Paddington's favourite programme, and he insisted that we watch it tonight.
Then where is he?
So let's meet our first contestant all the way from Windsor Gardens, Mr. Paddington Brown.
Are you sure you're right, Mr. Brown?
Yes, Mr. Playfair. This is your letter inviting me to be a contestant. I live at 32 Windsor Gardens, but I'm originally from darkest Peru.
Oh, well, we won't expect you to prove that, but we will expect the bare facts tonight. Yes, anyway, perhaps you'd like to step forward and send a message to anyone out there who knows you.
Maybe this program isn't such a load of rubbish after all.
If you ask me, television will never be the same again.
Hello, all at number 32. I hope I won't be late, Mrs. Bird. Mr. Gruber promised to bring me straight home and...
Hey, watch it!
You must be more careful with your marks.
My marks? But I had a bath this morning, specially.
No, not dirt marks. I mean the ones you are supposed to stand on for the camera position.
But you asked me to step forward.
I said step forward, not go for a walk. Anyway, it's time to play the game, so come this way.
Perhaps you need a box to stand on.
That's better. Now for the rules. You have 5 seconds to answer each of the questions. You must answer them correctly to stay in the game, keep your winnings, and go on to try for the jackpot! Now, which category do you choose? History, geography, mathematics, or general knowledge?
Mathematics, please. Bears are good at sums.
Mathematics. Okay. Mathematics it is. I must warn you, this may be a trick question. How many buns make 5?
2.5.
I'm afraid that's incorrect. I did warn you it was a trick question. Oh.
Fancy getting the first one wrong.
That's not like him at all. He must have something up his sleeve.
What you should have answered was, it depends on whether you're buying or selling.
But I wasn't doing either. I share my buns with Mr. Gruber, so we have 2.5 each.
He's right. Young Mr. Brown and I share our 11s every morning.
Give him the money! Give him the money! Give him the money!
Very well then, here's your £5.
Thank you, Mr. Playfair. But do you think I could have a bun to be going on with? Answering questions makes you very hungry.
Oh. Now, do you want to go on? The questions get harder. Just one wrong answer and you lose all the money you've already won.
I'd like to go on, please.
Okay. This is a 2-part question. If you cut an 8-foot length of wood in half, then half again, and then those pieces in half, how many pieces would you have?
8.
Correct! Now, how long will each of the pieces be?
8 feet.
Oh, what a pity! The answer, of course, is 1 foot. I thought that was pretty obvious.
Not to a bear, it isn't. I cut mine the other way.
The other way? There is no other way.
If you like, I'll prove my point.
Prove your point! Prove your point! Prove your point!
Oh, this is absurd!
You see, if you have paws, it's much safer to cut it down the middle.
There's no need to count it. It's all there. Now, do you wish to answer the final question, which is worth £500?
Oh, yes, please, Mr. Playfair.
For £500. If it takes 2 men 20 minutes to fill a 50-gallon bath full of water using 1 tap, how long will it take 1 man to fill the same bath using both taps?
Why, no time at all.
I'm afraid you're wrong, Mr. Brown. The answer is exactly half the time.
Oh, I'm afraid you're wrong, Mr. Playfair.
Nonsense!
Prove your point! Prove your point!
Very well. Prove your point.
Would you read the question again, please?
If it takes 2 men 20 minutes to fill a 50-gallon bath using 1 tap, how long will it take 1 man to fill the same bath using both taps?
As I said, no time at all, because you didn't say the bath was emptied after it was filled the first time.
All right. You win the jackpot.
The jackpot? You said I'd win £500.
The jackpot is £500.
Jackpot! Jackpot!
Just one more question. What will you do with all this money?
I think I'll keep a little bit as a souvenir and use some to buy Christmas presents. Then I'll give the rest to the Home for Retired Bears in Lima, Peru. I hope that you and the other bears can put the money to good use, Aunt Lucy. I've now found a much better program to watch. It's called Prove Your Point. And I hope I can do well on that, too.
Don't we all, Paddington? Don't we all?
and sailed to England alone. There he met the Browns and they took him home. Now a new life has begun. He's Windsor Garden's favorite son, 'cause he always does his best to help everyone. When a problem appears, he never misses a beat, and always finds a way to land on his feet. Has his very own unique point of view, looks at everything as if it's brand new. He is friendly and polite, and he tries to do things right, but he gets in sticky messes just the same. He's curious and speaks his mind, but trouble's never far behind. It's Paddington Bear, he's one of a kind.
I'm Paddington Bear.